It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to open Winston Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for June 23rd, 2025. Roll call. Jeremy, Jeff, had Adam Pagliaroli, Charlene Lavoie is absent, Mayor Brista, Scott, and Will, and myself, and John Cooney's absent, excused. Agenda review, I think we're set on that.
Yeah, you have a
revised
revised agenda on your desk
Yes.
due to a timing issue. We had 6:30 held over on the original agenda.
Yep, okay. We don't need a motion on that. Public comment on anything that's not on our agenda
So are
tonight.
Scott and I both seated?
Pardon?
Scott and I are both seated?
Yes, I will seat you and Scott both, yes. We have a full 5. Sorry, good thing you reminded me. Any public comment for anything that's not on our agenda? Okay, public hearings. First is PZC 25-8, applicant Timothy Wiley Jr. LS, location 165 Torrington Road. Proposal, special permit application for mixed-use building to include landscape, construction, yard, storage, personal, mini warehouse, vehicle sales, personal, vehicle sales, professional, vehicle sales, pleasure, and large warehouse.
Mr. Chairman, just before we get into it, I just want to note that the staff report I put together and sent out last week does say that we did not have updated plans. That is inaccurate. We did receive updated plans late last week.
Okay.
So in your packet, you should have new plans that address most of the
Yep.
comments from last.
Did see that, okay. Any additional discussion with our members? Anything from the public? Anything that we have? Mr. Wiley's not here tonight? Oh, okay, there you are. Okay, sorry. Yep.
We're going to call the public hearing.
Pardon?
We're going to open.
Yeah, this is the public hearing is open.
Wasn't sure. I addressed most of the things. I showed the new construction storage yards, landscape material storage, and boat and RV storage more defined on my plan. Showed the landscaped island in the middle of the display area parking so that it meets some of the zoning regs on that requirement as far as the 15-foot or 15 parking spot.
Okay, we showed the approximate location of leaching fields I had asked about the last time, yes.
Yeah, no, the owner, I don't have any real documentation.
Yeah, Torrington Area Health would have that if anybody, yep, okay. Trying to think what else there was that we could ask for.
Signage? Do you have signage for at the driveway, or is it at the road?
Yeah, there's no proposed signs.
That could be coming at a later date, right? Doesn't have to be part of the site plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, standalone signage.
Yeah, did you provide any type of information on cutoff lighting or anything?
There's a detail on it.
Okay.
I don't have the actual calculation on it.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the detail of the drawing, yep. Yeah, with a
It's just,
pole, okay.
speaking with my client, it was just to remove the driveway, just so
Okay.
you can see where the driveway is.
And just a proposed dumpster, no size on that or anything else,
No,
so,
we
okay.
don't have any, because it's,
Dimensions of that.
you know, it's just
Okay.
the dumpsters already there.
Any comment from the public regarding this? None? Commission members? Questions, concerns?
So, in the front of the building where you have the parking, non-delete, the parking for cars and trucks and
Yep.
equipment, how far from the building does that come, or how far from the front boundary line is that? There's like no dimension on it. There's one from the display area limit,
Yeah.
100 feet, but there's nothing that even just says what display area limit is.
Well, it's in that parking area, right?
Yeah.
It's delineated there, right on the edge of the, and it's 200 feet from the building to the corner of parcel B2, which is almost 30, a little over 30 feet away from parcel B2.
And you can't go too close because of floods.
Right.
Looks like it's
Well,
over
I don't know if-
140 feet.
What?
Looks like it's over 140 feet from
Right.
the building.
But it should be on the front, I would think.
The dimensions to
And then the same thing with the back. We have the display area limit. There's no dimension on, from the back of the line or anything like that, from where that line is.
Like a setback line you're looking for?
No, it's, you see here where it says, to the left of the building, it says display area limit.
Mm-hmm.
So where's that limit? There's no line, there's no dimension.
Well, it's the shaded area, right?
yeah, it's a little bit in front of the ditch.
On the side, you got 100 feet on the side, so that's good, 100 feet from the boundary.
Well,
But-
that's from the setback. also.
Yeah, from the setback.
From setbacks.
So it's
Yeah.
really 115
So like,
feet.
well, for the end of it there, it's like, where does it end?
To the existing tree line, which is, going along that shaded area. I don't show the tree line, but
Does it go up to the neighboring property, the state of Connecticut, where you have the fence up? They have a fence there, right?
yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Probably would be nice to have the dimensions, but I know when they put the building in, I'm sure they did a site plan, and I'm sure they had the building envelope on there also.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's one of the things, if it's approved tonight, it can be listed as a condition of approval that the final print submitted to,
I like that idea.
those dimensions be listed on it. I mean, that's gonna be one of the conditions that we can place on it if we want to, as a commission.
That sounds like a good idea.
But yeah, it'd be good to have the commission with dimensions, definitely, so, to know what area is gonna be used and what it's used for. Then if there's a change of use at any time later on, you'll have the original dimensions from the amended approval. So,
Yeah, and I think from an enforcement standpoint too, I mean,
yes.
they can measure and.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
it's,
so-
I mean, look at the things we go through at Highland Lake and other places without
Yeah. So I think-
dimensions, definitely.
But I just
Anything
wanna,
I'm done.
I just wanna make sure that we're clear on that. So the display limit area,
Mhm.
is that everything
Everything.
to the left of this dotted line?
Yep,
And
Yeah,
not
where
in the
that-
middle here,
'cause there's
cause
a
that's the
dimension.
leaching area.
that's the leaching area.
Yeah, so there is, it says the display area is 100 feet from the property line out and then
100 feet from the tree line.
the
essentially.
tree line, out, it doesn't say 100 feet, but yeah. And then everything in the middle here.
Adam, anything?
Just a question is, so mixed use too, is quite a bit of uses there. Are they gonna be doing, you know, public and private sales of the boats and vehicles and trucks?
Not the boats, but car, truck, and equipment.
Yeah. Do we need any additional retail on the use itself? I know we're asking the gentleman behind you for retail for their business venture for selling on the materials. Is there anything we need to do for retail, the vehicles on this?
It's listed
Well, the
as
vehicles,
vehicle.
they're all sales and service uses, so the sales
It's
are.
inherent by that listed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sales, service, and storage.
Yeah, and it already obviously has a bathroom in it, all right.
And to get into the sales, they're gonna have to go to DMV, get approval from them for that, and they're stringent.
Separately.
Mm.
Yeah. My understanding is there's a license that exists at a different address that will be moved to this one to complete a fleet of vehicles.
Mhm.
So this probably isn't even a long-term use, but
Yeah, Yeah,
I
okay.
would just, on the agenda, it just says vehicle sales, I would make sure just to clarify that it is sales and service.
It is.
Any other comments from the commission members? I'll make a motion to close public hearing PZC 25-8. All in favor? Rista? Yes. You heard Rista and Scott are both seated. Okay. Let's see. Throwing stuff around here. Our next public hearing, I'd like to make a motion to open PZC 25-9, applicant Martin Connor, location 103 Rudin Road, proposal special permit application to add storage business, outdoor limited, and landscaping/construction yard use to the property.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Continued public hearing.
It's a continued public hearing, yes.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Martin Connor. I'm a certified planner with the American Institute of Certified Planning. I've been doing town planning work for over 35 years. Last month, we came before you. We made a presentation. I did go through your special permit, special exceptions section to try and demonstrate our compliance with your considerations for special permits. Staff had a few comments and the commission asked us to put some additional information on the plan. And I do want to thank staff too for getting right back to us, I think the same night, and let us know what they thought we should make sure was included on our revised plan. So you have in front of you a plan tonight. We have the ADA parking detail. We're showing location for parking. I think it was suggested that the parking area on the side of the building, that we pave that whole section there so that it could be lined. So we're showing that.
Okay.
We've included details on the dumpster, slab thickness, dimensions, fence height. I do have, if you really need it, like a whole package on dumpster location, kinds of materials, but we're just talking about a dumpster enclosure that will fully screen the dumpsters. And we show the area. It's now meets the setbacks. Before, we had it in an area that was not within the required setbacks. We've made sure that our concrete bins show their location back from the front yard setback.
Let's pass it on. That's the dumpster enclosure. Yeah.
We've included, we show a proposed sign location, but we don't have what the sign's gonna look like. But we
Exactly.
would come back with a zoning permit.
That's understood. And
But we
this-
show a location for it.
Mhm. And the shrubs are moved into inside the
Yeah,
fence.
They're on our property there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're showing an evergreen hedgerow. We've shown the access to the existing building. If you look up in the right corner, we've got the building detail. Our surveyor, Tim Wiley, went out and measured all that information, shows you the doors. We do show proposed lights where they're required under the building code, where the doors are. And if you see the note there, it's gonna be full cutoff fixtures. Car storage we provided you with the actual map that my client used with, Connecticut, their, Department of Motor Vehicles.
DMV.
Yeah, and it was very loosey-goosey, if you can see, our license area is basically the area within the fencing, so they were very liberal. I mean, basically, Nick is a repair business, but he may at some points. Oh, okay, sorry. He may, from time to time, have a vehicle for sale,
No,
but.
that's understandable.
Yeah.
Mhm. Any, oh, you all set, Martin?
I
Okay.
think we've tried
Okay.
to address all the materials that you've asked for.
I think from everything I can remember from our last meeting, yes. Is there any public comment? No public comment? Commission members?
No, I haven't seen that map.
Yeah.
So my only question was just the display area that's within inside this fence line, so it's not close to the brook, right?
Right, no.
Yeah, the fence line is pretty much on the level ground.
And once again, this is pretty simple. We're not extending off of the existing gravel surface area. So we had one neighbor that just had questions at the last meeting.
Yes, at the last meeting,
Yeah.
next door neighbor, yes.
He seemed pretty satisfied that we were just using this area, which, once again, we talked about at the beginning of the meeting. At one time, you stored a lot of buses, were
Yes,
stored there.
it's had multiple uses over
Yeah,
the years there, so.
And clearly, it's underutilized
Definitely.
with Nick's operation.
Anything, Scott?
All set.
Okay, boy.
So you're proposing that picture that we saw for
Yeah.
the enclosure?
That was suggested, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Krista, you good? After
No,
looking at the
I'm-
map, okay. Yeah,
Covered
no,
everything.
Hmm?
They
You good?
covered everything, yeah.
Okay. Trying to think, anything else? You done, Will?
Close?
Or,
No.
So when diesel repair, that you guys? You didn't show the storage container.
No.
This is what he gave to the Department of
DMV.
Motor
Yeah.
That was
Vehicles.
what-
It's been
Yeah.
accepted, it was approved by,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Pretty simple.
good?
I'm good.
Okay. Everybody's good. Make a motion to close public hearing, PZC 25-9.
Second,
All in favor? Unanimous? Get rid of that paperwork. Next. Our next public hearing, which was continued, is for PZC 25-11, applicant Erica Ash Heating and Cooling, location 277 North Main Street, convert non-conforming use to another non-conforming use for section 415-17C4. You're up. Yes. I know you gave a presentation last meeting. I don't know if any of the commission members have any questions. Adam, you weren't here
Was
last
it a
time.
public hearing last time, or are we opening the public hearing this?
This is the open public hearing now, yes, so,
So it's not, this one wasn't continued?
yes, no. No. So, just explain quick what you're doing, so everybody hears, so.
Converting a former deli into an office
Office.
and storage space for an HVAC company. Yeah,
You were looking
Minor
at
changes.
similar signage, no change in signage, if anything,
Yeah,
less
we're
than what
using
you
the
have
existing
now. Yes,
bracket.
and no outside changes to the building or anything, I mean, as far as expansions,
Yeah,
it's just
we're making it
cleaning and
pretty.
making it nicer, yes,
yes.
yes,
Can you get rid of the neon lights?
yeah,
No neon lights.
yeah, I'm sure there's plenty there.
My God,
That's
they would
for
drive me
sure.
insane.
I think the other issue when I listened to the tape was the site plan. We were gonna discuss whether we needed one, which I don't think we do.
No,
I thought we
no.
said we didn't, because we were changing.
No,
That was not
Okay.
changed.
that's one of the things that we said we'd discuss this meeting because it's an existing use. The only reason they're coming is because somehow this piece of property got in the town single-family zone instead of the town gateway. And that's the reason they have to come to us for a special permit for the hearing. And that's one of the next things on our agenda is looking at zoning changes for certain areas of town. So, yeah. So, anyone else got any questions, anything? The applicants? So, it's fairly straightforward and easy.
Correct, you asked for.
Yes.
But, I mean, just, do we need to read in the legal notice? Do we have this is a new public hearing, do we need to do that for the record?
There's
Yeah.
descriptions on the
As
back.
far as the legal notices,
Abutting, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, we have, notifications went out, we have all that stuff. Yeah, and they ran, get my bearings here. 10th day of June, the 12th and the 20th, so within the time frames. And we did get the certificates of mailing as well.
Mhm.
Oh, same picture.
just looking back through the minutes, what was discussed. Yeah.
Three pictures of that big room we have.
Discussed it all last meeting. Anyone from the audience with any questions?
You want them?
Go. There, you can have them back. Nothing? Okay. Anything else from
Do
the,
you need any of those for the file?
what's that?
One set?
Well, they all technically become part of the
Okay.
file once they
Yep.
pass around. We'll keep them.
If there's no additional comments from commission or the public, I'll make a motion that we close PZC 25-11.
A second.
All in favor? Next, I'll open public hearing, PZC 25-7, applicant Town of Winchester, location various, update of official zoning map. Again.
I think we opened the hearing for this one 2 weeks ago, rather.
Yes, we
so
did.
this is a continuation as well. I'll be quick. We talked about that area on North Main Street that we just discussed. If we can get the screens to do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. Once that one gets going, I'll make sure this one is. I think if you plug in the one up there, those two automatically go, right? Yeah. I think the air conditioning needs to be turned up too. Yeah, that wouldn't hurt. I don't know about you.
You know an HVAC guy.
This one's the Algier.
me.
Come on, Lauren, where are your kids? We need help. Tech support. Yep.
Probably got a cover over it.
told Paul he better have a cold in there.
It's locked.
It should be PC. Yeah, it should be. Right?
I don't know, I was looking at the dial right above it. It might not be controlled.
He's got it.
Okay, well, I think we have a printed out version, don't we, Jeff?
No, that's right here.
Because I know Shane asked earlier today if we wanted to do, let's try that one off.
That might be
See
two.
if that'll do it.
Try that
Sure.
as two.
You can sit up there. We'll let you.
That's four. That's what it says. It's almost like the system work here if it works. All right. So if you go back there, now that I see it's labeled page 3x3 and not PC, plug back in there, it should work.
Well, it's HDMI one.
One? One.
That would come up more dark. There we go. No?
Which one? Pop up over there.
It's almost like a shut circuit.
You might be joining us.
Technology's great when it works.
Yeah, I for that too.
We need it.
So I-
Oh, it was there for a second.
Something's not right. Here's what.
It's almost like something's too small.
I agree.
Okay, hey, there, all right.
Nope, nope. It's gone.
Now it's back, okay.
Gotta warm up.
What the hell?
All right, we're putting in for a new.
Loose connection somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. That one seems to be staying. All right, we'll take a look at the screen on the stage right side of the room here, because that one seems to be working. So, getting back to this now that I'm totally distracted. 2 weeks ago, we talked about this North Main Street section. I had shown you a map. Jeff and I had talked, and we talked to you all about changing the whole stretch on the west side of North Main Street to all be town gateway. We decided that wasn't really a great idea because a lot of those are single-family homes. And so we pulled that back based on the discussion that we had last week. And so it takes all of these commercial, essentially what they are is commercial properties. There's a car wash on the corner, there's a package store on the opposite corner, and it pulls all of those into town gateway zone. There are three homes within that stretch. They are owned, I think, by a commercial entity that's in that neighborhood. But other than that, this actually makes most of those lots compliant with the zoning regulations as opposed to non-compliant. Other than that, there are no other changes other than the ones we've already discussed. And there's a list of properties. I put together a spreadsheet, and that should be in your packet as well, which
Yeah, saw that, yep.
shows all those properties that we're talking about on North Main Street.
So, additional changes for consideration as of June 12th. That was before our last meeting, right?
June, no, your last meeting would have been the 9th.
Alright, so there's a lot of them on here then.
Yeah.
Last meeting was the 9th, yeah.
Not just the North Main Street ones. There's like Oakdale, Palmer, Central Ave.
Yeah, so can I take a peek at that list that you're looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those, right, so these ones on Highview and Palmer and all of those, we had discussed early on in this process. And that's all that neighborhood over towards the regional high school.
Yeah, there was Old New Hartford Road.
Yeah,
Dale.
right, off of Old New Hartford, they're smaller lots that
Yep.
really, the zoning aligns with town single family, they were in rural residential.
Yeah. Palmer.
Before we even get to public hearing, the commission had kind of directed that we switch the zone on those parcels. There was one way out on Old New Hartford that
Yes.
was, I
Was
think it
missed.
was in the town
Yep.
gateway, and it's a single-family home, so
Yes.
we switched that back
Yep.
over to rural residential. So that's this area here that we're talking about.
So, just so the record is clear, so this spreadsheet has previously approved zone changes, shown a map dated June 12th, 2025.
These are
Are we
really good.
approving those tonight? Did we just previously discuss them?
So the list that you have in front of you has a number of previously approved changes, and it'll have an approved date in the farthest column to the right. And then it also has a list of changes that we're proposing as part of this map update. Those will not have a date associated with them. I just compiled everything into one spreadsheet so that you were
I
not
got you, so,
flipping through
so some of
multiples.
these are approved, but maybe weren't reflected in the map?
Correct, yeah, your map hasn't been updated since I think 2017, maybe 16, so there were a number of
Gotcha.
changes that have not been
A lot of them were done in
addressed on the
2020,
improvement.
there's a couple in 2024.
And so, and these are the changes that we're changing, but ultimately we're approving the new zoning map that's reflective of all of these changes.
Correct.
Gotcha.
You got anything, Will?
So we still haven't grabbed the last lot on Old New Hartford Road on the 40, on the side on 44.
Say that again, Willie?
The last lot on Old New Hartford Road,
Yep.
on the town line, it's on the downhill side. That one got forgotten when we first did it,
Yep.
and we haven't grabbed it
Yeah,
yet.
that's reflected here.
100?
No.
No, that's not
That
it.
was-
That's 2017, that
The
was.
very last lot here on the south side of Old New Hartford Road, so if you look at the screen where the cursor is currently, don't look at the one behind you, because look at the one over here on the side. So it's this lot that you're talking about, I think, that was left out of the last update and was left in the town gateway zone. So we've corrected that as part of this update here.
I haven't seen it.
It's right, can you see this screen?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's the one that's underneath my cursor.
but it's not on your list.
It should be, I don't remember the number of that parcel, but it's like 200 and something Old New Hartford.
175 Old New Hartford Road?
I'd have to look it up, to be honest with you.
No,
Um,
no, no, no. No,
My
no.
list-
Who's the owner? So it's under one of these previously approved, 200 Old New Hartford Road.
I don't think it's under one of the previously approved ones. It should be under, it's probably lumped with like let me look it up.
So my list and Rista's list are different.
Yeah.
Well, and theirs must be
It's not
different
here.
because they're
It's like
looking
this
for
one
it.
There it
You
is,
have
right
208.
there.
Yep.
Unless you have
It's
something.
208. It's
208.
It finally found
208,
it.
thank you.
Yeah,
It's
it was
there.
in the middle of the page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, at the page with all of them.
I knew it was 200 and something. but I
Yeah,
couldn't-
208, it's listed there,
Yeah.
so. Yeah. Any else, any questions, or any public with any comments, questions? Yes, sir.
You guys said that you decided to go against making zoning that lower half of North Main as, I'm assuming it's mixed use.
He's talking farther north, where all the residences are, because originally that was beyond Gibb Street. The last meeting with his map showed from Gibb Street north being, changing that from the,
I thought you guys
and those are all
were talking about
residences.
the lower half
No,
closer
no,
to
we're
the
looking from
main,
Beach
so
Street,
we'll have problems.
from basically Beach Street to Brook Street, was it? That's, yeah, right now. Any other public comment? Everybody on board, good?
Good.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion to close PZC 25-7. Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I'll look
Close, yes.
Here's 208.
Of course,
Yep.
There's two right there.
Mhm.
Okay.
I have to ask them there. All right, let's see.
Really talking about
Get all my stuff together here. I'll get through this discussion and we can get started.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, he's talking about that one. Yeah.
You good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll move into old business. First item is PZC 25-6. Applicant Henry Joseph Nowick III, location 39 Wetmar Avenue, convert existing family home to two-family home. He's requested an extension to July 14th, and that was granted, so that'll be continued
Is
till
that
then.
gonna be a special exception public hearing, or is that just a
It's a public hearing.
It's
yeah,
a public
special
hearing,
permit.
yep.
special permit?
Item B, PZC 25-8, applicant Timothy Wiley Jr. LS, location 165 Torrington Road, proposal special permit application for mixed-use building to include landscape/construction yard, storage, personal, mini warehouse, vehicle sales, personal, vehicle sales professional, vehicle sales pleasure, and large warehouse. Okay, let's see, pleasure here. I'll make a motion to approve application 25-8, special permit applicant Timothy Wiley, owner 165 Torrington Road LLC, proposal mixed uses per plans by Timothy Wiley dated June 2025. One, in evaluating this application, the Planning and Zoning Commission has relied upon information provided by the applicant. If such information subsequently proves to be false, deceptive, incomplete, and/or inaccurate, this permit shall be modified, suspended, or revoked. Two, this application is consistent with the town's plan of conservation and development. Three, this application meets the criteria and standards of 3J common regulations, special permits slash special exceptions. I have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, just a second. Okay, commission members, discussion?
I think the only thing I just wanna make sure that is clear is where the application in the agenda says vehicle sales, the parking schedule clearly says vehicle sales and service. So we're approving vehicle sales and service as uses, because this isn't a table of use, it's a parking schedule. So just.
And that's what they're looking for, sales and service?
Correct.
Because that not was worded in the
Yeah,
motion.
the use is actually sales and service. It wasn't written that way on the agenda. Should have
And yeah, the only reason I pointed out is because it just says parking schedule, and this is the use in the parking schedule, so I want to just make sure it's clear that that's also what we're approving.
Item 4, then as a condition, we'll add to include vehicle service as part of the special permit. And one condition I was going to put on that the applicant submit a detailed drawing of the dumpster enclosure to the zoning enforcement officer for his approval before the permit is issued. Because there's no detail on dumpster enclosure at all.
If I recall correctly, I think they were saying that it's not in view of the public right of way. So
No,
they're
but
saying-
we had discussed it last meeting, there has to be a dumpster enclosure.
Okay.
You've got bears, animals, even though it's not in view from the Route 8.
Mhm.
If the leaves are off, it could be. We're requiring everyone else in town to have dumpster enclosures. So it should be a kind of standard practice. If you don't want to, I mean, that's fine, but that's one of the conditions I was looking at. So. And that could be approved by the zoning enforcement. Anybody got anything else for other conditions, or?
Well, we were talking about some of these lines. I don't know how we define them.
We can ask for more detail on the final map presented to the town with all dimensions of storage areas.
So it's just something like dimension of storage areas.
Well,
more clearly defined.
so in the display area limit, need a dimension from the rear setback to the display area limit. And then display area limit on the right-hand side of the print, you need a dimension from the front setback to there. Other than that, that's the only two things I thought we should have.
Well, you can write it down. What you said, add it, number 6. I'm sick of
You
writing.
want additional setbacks labeled on the plan? Is that what you're looking for?
Additional dimensions of
These dimensions of
storage areas and parking areas.
Yeah,
Storage areas more clearly defined or something.
Storage
Parking
and
areas?
parking, huh?
parking areas?
Well, you were looking for dimensions for this parking area here from the building and stuff too, weren't you?
Well, no, we got
No?
that
Okay,
one there.
okay.
And we don't have one from here to here to define where that is.
From the
Because that just like floats around.
roadside of the property line?
Yeah, there's nothing here that says where this
Okay.
is. It floats. It can be wherever you want it.
I think if you just put something simple, like dimensions of storage areas more clearly defined, and then the CEO can make sure that
Staff.
their staff can make sure.
Make
that
sure it's on
That dimension's not clearly defined?
They're, appropriate for, because it's really just for their enforcement purposes.
Mhm.
So they can make sure that they have the details that they need.
Do you understand? what-
Clarify dimensions on final site plan to be approved by town staff.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So I would have the
Dimensions
applicant-
of storage and parking areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have the applicant meet with you, just put notes on the map, then
Yeah.
have them submit a
You-
final plan.
You know what we're looking for, so.
Does that work?
Makes sense, Tim? You good with that? Okay.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so add dimensions to print for zoning enforcement officer. Are we good? All in favor? Unanimous?
Who seconded the motion?
Krista, I believe.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I like that.
Sign.
Sure.
Well, whoever signs the sheet can say seconded it. We'll go with that, okay? No.
Got a guy for that too.
They're handy to know.
You want that one down, Krista? You want that down some more? Oh, okay. We'll move on to our next one, to Make a motion to approve application 25-9, special permit, applicant Martin Connor, owner 103 Riverton Road LLC. Proposal, add landscaping/construction yard to use per plans by Timothy Wiley dated April 2025. One, in evaluating this application, the Planning and Zoning Commission has relied upon information provided by the applicant. If such information subsequently proves to be false, deceptive, incomplete, and/or inaccurate, this permit shall be modified, suspended, or revoked. 2, this application is consistent with the town's plan of conservation and development. 3, this application meets the criteria and standards of 3J Common Regulations, special permits/special exceptions. Before we had gotten this enclosure information tonight, I was gonna put the condition on there that, you know, give enclosure details, but I would add that, is this what you're looking to use for an enclosure? Okay. I would just put as a number 4, dumpster enclosure to be as presented to the commission, brochure presented to the commission, so. Anybody got anything else at all?
No.
All in favor?
You need a second. I'll
Oh,
second it.
who's second?
I'll second it.
Oh, Adam seconded,
Adam did.
all in favor, unanimous, so, sorry about that. That's done.
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to the staff for getting right back to us so we can come back in 2 weeks and get this all squared away.
See you later.
Yep, good luck.
Start pouring some concrete.
Give that to Jeff, because they'll do that for the,
Keep that with the approval.
yeah, keep that with the package, so.
That's a nice one.
Not gonna work.
Yeah.
The pan.
Slats aren't gonna fall out. All that stuff.
That corner's looking a lot better
Yeah.
with the gas station. And they maintain the whole frontage too.
Yeah, he's a lot of his jobs, he took over the other guy there.
Okay, yeah, don't forget to sign it where it's second also. All right, now we'll move on down. PZC 25-11, applicant Erica Ash Heating and Cooling. I'd like to make a motion to approve application 2511, special permit, applicant Erica Ash Heating and Cooling, owner estate of Michael Perugini. Proposal convert non-conforming use to another non-conforming use per section 415-17C4. Evaluating this application, Planning and Zoning Commission has relied upon information provided by the applicant, and if such information subsequently proves to be false, deceptive, incomplete, and/or inaccurate, this permit shall be modified, suspended, or revoked. 2, this application is consistent with the town's plan of conservation and development. 3, this application meets the criteria and standards of 3J Common Regulations, special permits/special exceptions. Do I gotta have a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Scott.
Scott?
Scott's in the book.
Yep. Discussion? Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? It's yours.
Better God for that too.
Sorry it took that long. Good luck with that. Yep.
Actually, compared to before, it's fast now.
It is,
In 2
because we
meetings.
have information in front of us.
Yeah.
So, thanks to you guys. We have the information, we can,
That's what we're here for.
yes. Little faster than it used to be, huh, Troy? You remember those days.
Thank you for
So
the
do I.
full-time staff.
I like it when things work out right.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. got 20 more, huh? No. Yeah. Scott,
Scott.
you second it? You got to sign where it said seconded by. You got to watch them all the time, so.
Right.
Gotta watch the newbies.
Go on from there. Okay, our last one is PZC 20-7. I'd like to make a motion to approve application 25-7, special permit, applicant Town of Winchester, update of official zoning map dated June 12th, 2025. When evaluating this application, the Planning and Zoning Commission has relied upon information provided by the applicant, and if such information subsequently proved to be false, deceptive, incomplete, and or inaccurate, this permit shall be modified, suspended, or revoked. 2, this application is consistent with the town's plan of conservation and development. 3, this application meets the criteria and standards of 3J Common Regulations, special permits slash special exceptions.
I'll second it.
Okay? Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have an effective date set. I would say no sooner than July 15, so that we can publish a legal notice and have the appeal period run out
Okay.
before it becomes effective.
So would you like to go with July 15th?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Do you do direct mailings to every one of these addresses?
No, we do
or
not.
just,
Okay,
yeah.
to be effective. To be effective July 15th, 2025. No discussion?
No.
All in favor? Done.
Good work on that, that was a lot of work.
Well, thank you all for,
That was a
For getting it
difficult
done.
one, believe me, for you
Yeah.
guys. You guys did all the hard work on it for us, but,
it's just lines on a map to me. It makes no,
well, you have to remember,
Colors, yeah, colors.
you have to remember this is 5 years in the making.
fair enough.
You know,
Fair
for us. We've been dealing with for at least 5 years.
Well, we got it done.
And now,
We'll look
I
at it
think
again
we've
in a
got it
year.
pretty much done.
I think we're there. If we
You think so?
if we missed something, then we'll find it and we'll fix it.
We're so much farther ahead than we were, so hopefully it makes it easier for everyone. So, thank you for that. Under new business, first off, before we have an election of a new chairman, I'd like to thank George Clausen for his many years of service to the town of Winchester and to the Planning and Zoning Commission especially. He served as a member of the commission for many, many years, as chairman for several years, was a wealth of knowledge and wisdom that he imparted to me anyways, and I think all of the members of this committee. He'll be sorely missed. So thank you, George, if you're listening. I would like to nominate Will Platt as the next chairman of the Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'll second that.
Here a second, okay? Just any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Congratulations, Will. Or my sympathy, I don't know which. Whichever, but I told Will I would continue the rest of the meeting tonight, not throw it on him, but, and I'd be more than happy to help him with anything I can. Item 7, other business, was discussion of draft regulations for helipads, which,
Yeah, so we left this where it was last time. I gave you a number of revised regulations, and the helipads is the first one to take a look at. Upon a conversation from 2 meetings ago, I think there was talk of hours of operation. I think we initially said 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. or something along those lines, and so we adjusted that language to be, we adjusted it to be approved as part of the special permit, the hours of operation of a helipad.
don't know what I did with mine here. I probably got it in my briefcase or something. Yeah, there. Anybody wish to discuss them?
I would pull it up on the screen, except the screens aren't cooperating, so we're not gonna bother.
Understandable. So. get through the papers here.
The big difference from the draft that you had seen, I think, in late May, is
May
under
13th.
subsection, section 2F of this proposed language. It's been changed to say the hours of operation shall be determined as part of the special permit with consideration of the location and nearby uses, and may include seasonal variations with the exception of an emergency. So that gives emergency helicopters the ability to sort of land whenever.
Yes, yeah, because it was in red on our copy.
That's right,
Yes,
yep, yep.
Yes.
SP is special permit.
Special permit, yep.
Yeah, now we're gonna need to set a public hearing on this,
And I just want,
add this to the regulations.
we talked about it, and I think I might have missed one of the meetings where this was discussed. Are we allowing this as a principal use or just as an accessory use only?
It's as an accessory use
Accessory.
only, and I think if you read the, the first line of the proposed reg is the purpose of the section is to allow by special permit the construction of helipads as an accessory use as provided for herein. So it would
As
not be a
accessory
principal
use,
use, yeah. And number one is, as a part of a medical office, you already include that, sort of, you include it in the definitions section for medical office, but I thought let's just put it on
Yes,
record.
put it
that,
on
you know,
record
that
so we
it's-
have it in the
right.
regulation.
And then, section number 2 goes into uses that are not part of a medical facility.
Any limitations on number of landings during one day?
We did not put that in there that I remember, we had not discussed that. I mean, that could be added as part of the special
There are
permit,
towns that do it, yep.
you know.
That's a nightmare to try to enforce.
I was gonna
so-
say,
Yeah,
it becomes a
yeah,
little bit of an enforcement
Yeah, I can see
issue.
a major enforcement issue, because really, who's gonna be doing, I mean, I think we tried covering a lot of the stuff because of the distances in the first amount of acreage needed, second, the distance from residences and other buildings, and what districts they're allowed in, so.
Yeah, so if you look at the use table changes, right now I have it in there as allowed in the RR,
Right.
the town gateway and PI.
And I think that with the hours of operation listed, you know, if it's a sensitive area, maybe we can even restrict those even more. So I like that that's an open-ended, thing instead of like a blanket 8 to 9 or whatever they were talking about.
Yeah, you know, with the special permit process, we're gonna can limit lighting and outlaw that if we wish to, or whatever. It's just, that we can determine conditions at that time of approval.
And I
yeah.
think in the special exception regulations, there's probably something about noise. So if we do feel that, you know, whatever the proposal is, would, you know, impact that neighborhood from noise, I think we could probably. use
And the
that
noise
to
is gonna be a
address
hard
that.
one to enforce.
Well, if they were to, you know, come in and say, we
Right.
have 4 planes and we're gonna come in every half hour, like we could, I think we can address
Yeah,
it
no.
within the existing special exception.
You wanna set this for the July 14th meeting,
I think that'd be fine.
or you wanna push it out to the 28th of July?
I don't think we have any other public hearings scheduled
Yeah, I
right now
didn't know
for
what
the
you had.
14th, just that two-family,
no,
that duplex.
The two-family.
I think the 14th is fine, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the draft heliport regulations for July 14th.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay. That's that one. Discussion updates to Highland Lake fence requirements.
So this one, again, we've talked about a fair amount. We had some conversations 2 weeks ago about trying to figure out how to regulate and whether we should regulate hedge walls. And I think at this point, I think we decided a couple of weeks ago, let's put a pin in that for now. Let's go back and research that piece of it. Let's just get the fence section sort of cleaned
Yeah,
up so that we can.
Enforcement's gonna be,
Right, exactly.
issue.
Yeah, and enforcement's gonna be a big issue with that. So I think right now what we'd like to do is just address the deficiencies in the language that we've got and that duplicative setback requirement, And then we can talk later, more about the hedgerow piece of it and whether or not that's something we wanna do. So I haven't made any changes to that proposed reg from
Yeah,
what
that's
you
the same
saw.
one from June
That's the
4th.
same change,
Yeah.
June 4th, that's correct, yeah.
I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for proposed changes to zoning regulations on fences in the Highland Lake District for July 14th also. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Do we have a copy of all your proposed changes?
You should have them in your packet.
Should be in
I
the
believe.
packet from
Yeah.
last month,
And changes are in
or
red.
last meeting.
Yeah, you should have them, we can
They're
send them out
dated
too.
June,
Yeah.
June 4th.
They're also
They're
on
dated,
OpenGov, because we have applications set, and they'll be going in, if they're not in there already,
They are.
they'll be going in there.
So this just really is just clarifying the existing language.
It's
Clear-
clarifying.
Yeah, it's
It's not
clarified it,
changing
it took care of typos and
Yeah.
missing words and,
The biggest thing is we deleted that section
Yeah,
that talked
I see
about a
that.
9-foot setback, when you had in there language requiring a 2-foot setback, and you had language requiring a 9-foot setback. And so we just cleaned that up, we got rid of the
What
9.
is this, where is that? I don't.
Right.
Discussion about what qualifies as semi-open.
Yeah, we could, you wanna bring that up?
So what is the setback?
The setback will be 2,
2 feet.
yeah, 2 feet.
Or on a line, provided.
Or, right, we're on a
Yeah.
line, provided that the neighbor signs off on it, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Say something?
No, but we'll let you talk.
Okay, thank you. Just be, paying attention to the Public Works Department, because, you get a 2-foot setback and somebody puts a hedge there or something that grows into the road, or, we have barely enough room to push the snow as it is.
So this is for side yard,
And we-
Side yard,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah, we're looking at
I
side
hear
yard.
you.
A lot of problems.
I know, that's a problem, yeah.
People put their fence
Yeah,
right
no.
there, you got no place to put the snow.
No,
then
and
you want
that's a
the-
big issue up at the
Yeah.
lake.
Yeah,
Breaking.
yeah, that's a big issue, we're not even talking about that, it's
Yeah.
just for the side yards.
Yeah,
But-
we're talking
No,
side yard,
no.
we didn't touch anything with road frontage or anything.
Yeah, we know
Because that
that's-
was already discussed, there's been some issues up at the lake.
Yeah, just knock it over.
I mean, but I,
Two, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanna, like, typically, fences are not regulated by zoning, right? So you can put up a fence if, you're anywhere in town, you can put up a fence, as long as it isn't 6 feet or less, cause then you don't need a building permit, it can go anywhere on your property, right? So we don't generally regulate that.
But you do.
This case, we
We
wanna
do.
regulate
We
that.
do.
We do.
You regulate it in
All throughout
all your districts.
Yes,
And in the
Quite
Highland,
cumbersome.
and in the
Yes.
Highland Lake District,
Yep.
it's got extra provisions around it, but fences are regulated
Yeah.
everywhere. It surprised me when I got here too.
Yeah, 5 would, that's a.
It's a lot of work on him.
There's what, like 12 pages, isn't there, of fence regulations?
So what's the normal setback everywhere
Quite a
else in
few.
town?
So everywhere else, we recommend a 2 to 3 foot setback from the property line to allow maintenance without trespass.
How do you give a permit on a recommendation?
Well, they need to draw it in where it's gonna actually be, and then we go from there. We have recently decided to, and the only way to do that is if you have a survey, right? So for people who can get sign off from all their affected neighbors, we're foregoing the need for a survey, just so we don't have an undue cost on applicants. I'd like to drop it all together,
Yeah, I
Krista,
would too.
if, that's something that the commission wants to discuss. But just one point specific to the Highland Lake fencing. Another point you may want to consider or look into is what constitutes the definition of a semi-open fence. There are some graphical representations in the regulations, but none of them actually tell you how far the slats need to be from each other. So that gets a little iffy as well. So if we're gonna be talking Highland Lake fence regulations, maybe we wanna actually put in a measurement or something. I don't know.
It won't hurt,
Yeah,
it won't hurt you.
Yeah.
It starts to get overly complicated, I think, and Jeff's point is a good one, because we've had this conversation with somebody already, that they put up a fence and look, it's semi-open, and it is if you're standing head-on, and it's got a 3/4 inch gap between each slat, but if you're looking at it from a 40-degree angle, it looks like a solid fence, and if you look at the diagrams that are within the regulation, maybe it meets those, maybe it doesn't. You might want to think about moving towards, if it's under 4 feet,
it's gotta be, it can be solid because you could see over it, but if it's over a certain height, then it's semi-open, and then define semi-open. It's just, it's a cumbersome regulation to enforce, and it's, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. It's a cumbersome regulation to enforce. And I, you know, again, I know we've talked about view sheds and trying to preserve view sheds from the road, and I understand that that's the sort of the reason behind it all, but I think it's, I don't know that it's totally effective in meeting that goal, especially when you've got houses that are so packed tight to each other and landscaping between them and garages and everything else. I don't think a fence that takes up about, you know, maybe 4 inches of width running the length of your view affects much in terms of the view. But I think that's a bigger conversation that should be had at some point.
Well, we
So
already
when
just-
you're,
Go ahead.
go to people's houses, somebody has a party, people, they just bought the house or something's happened, all the people come to, you know what the initial conversation is from everybody? Well, look at your view. Look at the view. They're out on the lawn. Oh, look how far you can see this way. Look how far you can see that way. That's the initial conversations. So, it's important. It may not be important in downtown, but it's important up there.
Yeah, but, I mean, I guess, for me, if I live on the lake and I want a 4-foot fence, because I don't want to see that view, I should be able to do that, where I think.
But you don't block your view, you block,
I would say it's the other people, right?
no,
And
the
so-
people next to you and the people next to them.
And that's the reason for the setback, so it has to be 20 foot back, and then it can only be 4 feet, so you're not blocking other people's view.
Mhm.
Right, and so I think that we already have the setback requirements, 20 feet from high water mark, we already have the height restriction, the 4 feet or the 3 feet, so that other people are protected. If it's my own view, because I want privacy for some reason, why are we regulating that? And I guess that's my,
Cause some neighbors don't give a shit about the other ones.
yeah, but so maybe it's a 25 foot setback. Like, I think to Jeremy's point, if there's a 2-inch or a 4-inch space between the slats, your view is still obstructed. It's a setback that's not gonna obstruct that view.
Right, and your regulations currently, the way it's written, is anything within 20 feet of the lake can't exceed 6 feet in height, which makes sense. And anything within 20 feet of the lake requires a special permit from the commission. So if you're down in that front portion, I'll
It's
call
not-
it the front, because they're lake lots, but the front portion, it requires a special permit.
Yep.
Anything within 20 feet of the high water line of Pine Lake shall not exceed 36 inches.
Oh, I'm sorry, 36 inches.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
right. Oh,
so-
that we clarified that.
Yeah.
There was a portion that said 4 feet, and there was a portion that said
And
3
then
feet.
if
4 feet,
it's,
Yeah.
there still is, C and D are still kind of confusing. Fences located within 20 feet of the high water line,
It's yours.
Pine Lake shall not exceed 4 feet in height. Walls,
Right, so walls and
Located,
fences
that's
are
the
located,
difference.
yeah, they are, right, they're
Different.
regulated separately. So a fence has a 4-foot height, a wall has a 6-foot, I mean, a 3-foot height, and I think the intention there is walls really can't be semi-open, right, because they're not gonna stand if they are.
so, yeah, so I'd probably, if it was easier for you, get rid of that semi-open, make them all 36 inches.
You're worried about dogs jumping over it. Well, the
semi-open
is for all of it.
Right,
That's
right,
one
and
of them.
semi-open is all of it. All the fences within the Highland Lake District, regardless of where they are, is the semi-open provision applies. Just food for thought. I mean, I think we're throwing it out there because we're
We'll have
encountering
the
issues.
public hearing in the next meeting and hash it out then, I guess.
So if we change the examples of semi-open, I personally like to see it in something that's commercially available. So you don't have to create that or pay a contractor to create it. So if we can come up with something that's commercially available, that meets
Our regulations.
our regulation or meets
Do they
board's
look at
idea
a
of
2-inch spacing, a 3-inch spacing, you know, what's commercially available with a,
Okay.
you know, maybe solid vinyl, but it's Does it have a 2-inch spacing between the slats, or 3-inch spacing, or 1 inch?
And I guess that would be the question that I would ask of the commission is what would you like to see in terms of that spacing, right? Do you want a 2-inch gap? Do you want a 3-inch gap, a 4-inch gap? And then those slats themselves, how wide are those? I mean, are we really looking at trying to just sort of force a picket style fence, right? Where you've got kind of a narrow slat and then a fairly wide gap.
Or it could also be like a,
Lattice or,
yeah, or, you know, what am I trying to think?
Rail.
Farm fences with the
Split rail.
split rail.
Yeah,
I'm
split
thinking,
rail, right.
which isn't even allowed. With that, those are more semi-open.
Yeah, I don't know if those four graphics were meant to be all encompassing or just
I mean,
examples.
we can
I think
spend
it's-
almost as much time as we did on driveways.
Yeah, we
Oh,
could,
God.
drive ourselves nuts here. We can bring you some, maybe we wanna hold off on opening the hearing on this one. Let's continue.
Well,
We don't have a timeline, cause it's commission initiated. So
yeah.
yeah, let's do the hearing and we'll get you some examples of what's commercially available. We'll go from there.
Yeah, that can be added into it that
Yeah,
night.
yeah,
And I think,
Something we can
And then we
revise
can
that
hear
night
from-
during the hearing.
yeah, okay, I'm good with that.
That public comment will be helpful.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
assuming
If we-
they show
If
up.
we get some, yes.
Okay.
I think we'll have quite a few people from the lake, do you?
Time will tell.
I don't know how many would
Yeah.
come down right now, because most of them are, unless they're up here for the summer.
Right.
Item C was updates, discussion of updates,
Is that July 14th?
Yes.
updates of definitions to the related to manufactured and mobile homes.
Yep, so I gave you a couple of new definitions there, and this cleans up the need for folks that want to construct manufactured manufactured homes. Currently, they are required to come in and get a special permit. We just did one up on Ashley Road,
Yep.
so this rectifies that. This follows the HUD definition of what a manufactured home is and what a mobile home is. And a manufactured home is just a mobile home that's constructed after June 15, 1976. It is, sort of a trailer home or whatever you want to call it, whatever colloquial term you want to use. But a manufactured home is not a factory-built modular home. A factory-built modular home is outfitted with studs and, typically sheathing and then trucked here, put on a foundation and put together with other
Sections.
modular homes and then fitted out. A manufactured home is brought in, dropped in place, fully done. It's got its wiring, it's got its plumbing, it's got its insulation, its stove is in place, its fixtures are, it's done. It's ready to occupy once it's connected. into
Complete,
the
ready to live in,
utility.
basically, on a trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, you want to do that the 14th also?
I'm okay with it.
I'll make a motion, we schedule a public hearing on updates to the definitions related to manufactured and mobile homes for July 14th.
I'll second.
All in favor? Yes. And we're down to D, discussion updates to zoning regulations, Appendix A, use table.
Yep, so a couple of changes here that we're proposing, and I'm noticing that for some reason some things shifted on me. But one of the things right at the top in the key that we wanted to clarify, and I think we tried to get this done as part of the codification, it didn't quite happen. We wanted to, currently your key has P and SP and a blank box. So P is a permitted use, SP is a special permit use, and then a blank box is not allowed. There are uses out there that are allowed by zoning permit, but they're not called out as zoning permit in the box. And so I think just to clarify for the ZEO and for the public, we want to clarify what those zoning permit uses are, separate from the permitted uses, which really are a site plan approval done by the commission. So those are things like single-family dwellings in all of your residential zones. And I think we put in accessory uses, residential accessory uses, I think, as ZPs. Home farming is a zoning permit. That's something that Jeff already signs off on. So again, clarifying that that's a zoning permit. And then one that we added because it's something that I think is not currently regulated, and I think it adds clarity for everybody, which is under other uses, change from one allowed use to another allowed use within an existing space. So if a business goes out on Main Street, for an example, and another business wants to come in, and maybe it's not quite the same, maybe it was a, I don't know, pick something off the shelf, yeah, thanks, yeah, perfect. Or even simpler is what I was thinking, you know, somebody who's running some kind of an office, going from an old deli to an HVAC thing, then we could be doing it as a ZP, because there's no site plan changes, there's no exterior changes to the building, it's a use thing. Jeff can quickly verify that the site has the required parking to meet that use, and away you go.
Yep. Great, thank you.
And then I think the only other one we noticed in the Riverton Road application, actually, that landscaping and construction yard got dropped out of the use table.
Yeah.
It was originally in those separate boxes that you had listed under each use, or I'm sorry, under each zone. And it was a listed use in the town gateway zone. It just didn't get translated to the new use table, so we added that as well.
You want to do that the 14th again, too?
Okay
Get
with
them
me?
all done, or make a motion to have a public hearing on the updates to zoning and regulation, Appendix A, use table, July 14th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
We're really testing Will, aren't we?
Hey, we're busy
All in
tonight, we're
public
gonna be busy the
Yeah.
next meeting. And Willie's gonna be running it. Next, approval of minutes, June 9th, regular meeting. Anybody? Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve minutes of our June 9th.
I'll second it.
You sure it didn't end at 9:01, at 9 o'clock on top?
I'm not sure.
Discussion?
It was.
But I trust our secretary, because she is very efficient, huh? And I believe it was 9 PM, because that's when George wanted to go home.
Yeah, I think it was.
So, he spelled that out.
It's always 9 at night, yeah.
Hey, I appreciate that. As somebody who covers another commission and went till 11:30 last week, yeah, I appreciate the 9 o'clock.
And we're gonna,
Under discussion, just for the record, I listened to the public hearings before I voted on them tonight.
no, you're good, thank you.
Same.
Okay, we got a motion to second it, all in favor, accepting the minutes? Unanimous. And communications,
I don't have anything.
nothing,
Nothing to add.
no news, nothing coming up, nothing.
The governor vetoed House Bill 5002.
yes.
There you
Yeah,
go.
let's- We need to celebrate.
talking about.
I won't say where, but we need to celebrate after the meeting on that. because
It'll be
that-
back, don't worry.
Oh, I know it'll be back, but we've got another year, hopefully. So it'll be back in some form.
Yeah,
We
it'll
know
be
that.
back in some form.
But a lot of, I don't know, so that's very good.
So, because we were just talking about fences, how does the rest of the commission feel about kind of eliminating some of that in our regulations? So I've worked for a ton of towns, I know Scott probably has, you know, fences are a bone of contention between neighbors, and it's usually a civil matter that the town doesn't get involved in, as long as it's on their property line. If there's a dispute over a property line, then they have to get a survey. That's not something the town generally steps foot in. We don't require permits for, you know, under 6 feet, because that's what doesn't require a building permit. And I think that with our limited staff, having him enforce and issue permits, and that's a lot of time that takes up for something that's probably a hassle for the homeowner, hassle for the zoning, and I don't know that it's something that, so, but I just wanna throw it out there if, get everybody else's kind of thoughts on it, because it's not typically, I don't know what your experience is.
I
but
agree.
It's not
We're
typically.
looking for words of wisdom from you fellows.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Rista. This is,
Yeah.
I think, the first time I've encountered fences requiring regulations really of any kind. I understand, again, the Highland Lake
Yeah,
area,
that's-
that's different, but,
That's a different beast.
you know, the rest
I
of
mean,
town,
you've
out
got-
in the rural residential, we're making people get surveys of their properties to put up a fence on sometimes a 5-acre lot. You know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to
I
me.
mean, you've got other lakefront property, but I mean, Lake Winchester, forget it, there's only 4 houses there. And you've got Park Pond, but, they're not that dense, you know, there, because most of it's all under a land trust property, or the camps that are there. I mean, we may want to put a to look at a stipulation, something for property for commercial uses or something.
Well, those would all come in under site plan.
Right,
No.
yeah.
Yeah,
We would still approve those
Yeah.
under site plan. I've seen some regulations where if it's over 6 feet, you know,
Yeah.
you have to get a special permit
Yes,
for something that's
definitely.
over 6
If
feet.
it's
But
under 6.
6 feet and under, I mean,
yeah.
that's a lot of time to, and as a property owner, if you want a fence for privacy, I mean, I think that's just
I agree.
a burden that we don't need
Whatever
to
you wanna come up with, I
put
mean,
people through.
throw something at us. And
Okay, well, yeah, we'll throw something
See
at
what
you.
sticks.
I think, you know, Rista's right, that most towns, I think, will regulate some, or require some kind of a permit if they're over, used to be 6, I think it's 7 in the building
Whatever
code
it
now,
is
whatever it
now.
is, just
Yeah.
mirror the building code, which I think is 7 feet. So if it's under that, because the standard fence is 6 feet, if it's under 7, it doesn't require anything, and I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'd certainly appreciate the change.
Spare
Like
time.
a difficult
Yeah,
animal
that's
for
what I got.
fences.
well, Highland Lake, I think we're looking at those fencing regulations, and
It's-
I think that there's some really good reason for that, there's
No,
view
that's-
sheds and different things.
Yep.
So
That has to-
I think that's, and I'm
that
not
has to be
talking.
regulated.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that, I'm
Yeah,
talking about the
definitely.
rest of the town.
Everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yep. All in favor? 8:21. How's that?
Let's see what you can
Now
do
you
next
got a
time,
goal
Willie.
for us here.
Five public hearings.
I throw down the challenge.
Threw the gauntlet down.
I just threw you a challenge, huh?